Today, I'm going to explain a horror comedy movie called Puppy. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a young woman, Liz, making her way to a bustling shopping center. She seems stressed and approaches the cashier, explaining that she needs to return some dog food. However, the cashier informs her that a refund is only possible if the product is defective. This enrages Liz and she slams the cans against the counter to damage them. Meanwhile, a bearded man named Aiden quietly observes the scene from nearby. Later, Liz returns to her car and grabs some blood-stained sheets of paper, which she throws to the ground. At the same time, Aiden is creepily observing her from his tow truck. He then begins taking pictures of her with a Polaroid camera. Moments later, Liz connects a tube to the vehicle's exhaust system and starts the engine. She lays her head back as the car soon begins to fill with smoke. It seems like she is fed up with her miserable life and has decided to live herself. But just when she falls unconscious, Aiden rushes to her aid. He immediately gets her out of the car and loads her in his truck before driving away. Shortly after, the two arrive at an isolated farmhouse in a remote area. As Aiden carries the unconscious Liz into the house, she accidentally hits her head on the door. So he tends to her injury. After that, he takes her to his bedroom where he tucks her in and ties her hands. He then lies beside her in bed and imagines her as another blonde woman. The next morning, Aiden cooks scrambled eggs and brings them to Liz in the bedroom. When she awakens, she is terrified to find herself in a strange man's home with her hands tied and eggs in front of her. She refuses to eat the eggs, claiming that she's vegan, but this only enrages Aiden. Liz then tells him she wants to go home and her father is looking for her. However, Aiden reacts aggressively and refers to her as his wife, Helen. He also admits how desperately he's been looking for her. Liz is confused and she tries to explain that she isn't Helen, but her denial only agitates him more. In the end, she reluctantly accepts that she's Helen and claims that she recently lost her memory. After some time, Aiden leaves for his tow truck driving job and Liz finally breathes a sigh of relief. She tries to use a telephone in the house, but realizes it isn't working. She then attempts to leave through the front door, only to find it locked. Frustrated, Liz searches for another exit and eventually discovers the back door, which is open. But just as she steps outside, two vicious Rottweilers rush toward her, barking aggressively. This freaks out the poor woman, prompting her to rush inside the house and lock herself in. The scene then cuts to a flashback from one day ago, where we see Liz living with her sister Jackie and her brother-in-law, Dan. The sisters do not appear to get along and are constantly screaming and arguing like maniacs. Despite this, they put up with each other since Liz has nowhere else to go and Jackie needs to babysit her toddler. Later, Liz steals her sister's necklace and leaves for a job interview, but the family dog follows her into the parking lot. She then accidentally runs over him while attempting to start the car. Liz feels very guilty and immediately takes the injured animal to the vet. However, the doctor informs her that the dog requires immediate surgery, which will cost $700. That's a steal! This movie must take place 50 years ago. Since Liz doesn't have that much money, she goes to a pawn shop to sell her sister's necklace. The pawnbroker offers her $450, but she insists that she needs more. He offers to give her more money if she sleeps with him, but Liz refuses in disgust. The man then leaves for a second, during which she leans across the counter and steals a watch from the display case. Upon his return, Liz sells the same watch back to him and manages to get an additional $150. Unfortunately, when she returns to the vet, she discovers that the dog has already passed away. Upon returning home, Jackie is furious about her missing necklace. She accuses Liz of stealing it, but the ignorant woman denies it and simply heads to her room. Moments later, Jackie searches through Liz's purse and discovers a large sum of money. This infuriates her so much that she attacks her sister in the bathroom. She demands to know where the cash came from, and a guilty Liz eventually admits the truth about the necklace and the dog. Upon hearing this, Jackie becomes further enraged and reveals that the dog was the only belonging left from their late brother Mikey. She also blames Liz for his death and scolds her for failing to do anything right. After some screaming, Jackie demands that her sister leave her apartment immediately and never show her face again. In the next scene, a frustrated Liz heads to the rooftop, where she recalls the vision of Mikey walking on the railing and falling to his death. It turns out that he was an autistic boy, and Liz was supposed to babysit him on that fateful day. Moments later, Dan approaches her and politely requests that she leave. He says that she has been living here for months and needs to find her own place. Liz then begins to flirt with him, and we discover that they are having an affair behind Jackie's back. However, Dan refuses her advances this time and claims that he loves his wife. Returning to the present, Aiden arrives home from work, and Liz serves him an undercooked chicken. After taking a bite, Aiden heads to his car and brings a bouquet inside. He presents it to Liz and thanks her for coming home. He also releases the ties around her wrists, giving her some relief. After dinner, the two go to bed, and Aiden tries to make love with her. She tries to refuse, but he insists that they do it as she is his wife. When he keeps on touching her, Liz abruptly says that he's hurting the baby. She then announces that she's recently become pregnant with their child. Hearing this, Aiden becomes very happy and begins touching her belly to feel the baby's movements. But despite this joy, he takes her hand and asks her to please him, which she reluctantly does. In the following days, Liz remains trapped in the house pretending to be Aiden's wife. She also devises various escape plans, but none of them are successful. The crazy guy even wraps a dog collar around her neck, claiming it's a necklace gift from him. One day after Aiden leaves for work, Liz climbs the house's chimney and paints the word help with flour batter. She then returns inside and discovers some video footage of Helen. In the video, Helen is seen horseback riding, and when Aiden records her, she insults him, calling him a loser and a lunatic. In the next video, the woman approaches a sleeping Aiden and tells him that she loves him, but can't spend her life with such a man. Nothing like home movies. The scene then cuts to a few weeks later, when winter has arrived and Liz is still trapped inside the house. Aiden has once again tied her hands and refuses to let her even use the restroom. Instead, he brings a basin for Liz to urinate in the bedroom. One day, a desperate Liz attempts to cut the rope with a knife, but injures her finger in the process. This causes her to scream in pain, and Aiden immediately rushes in to check on her. Taking advantage of the situation, Liz reveals that she's losing the baby and suggests they should go to the hospital. However, Aiden refuses to let that happen and decides to bring a doctor in instead. He later goes to see his family Dr. Holden and begs him to check on his wife. The doctor is confused because he knows Helen abandoned him a while ago. However, when Aiden continues to insist, the old man reluctantly agrees to go to his house. On the way, Dr. Holden asks Aiden if he takes his pills every day, but the latter doesn't answer. They soon arrive at the house, where the doctor is shocked to see an unknown woman whom Aiden refers to as Helen. He quickly assesses the situation and instructs Aiden to boil water in the kitchen. He then speaks with Liz alone and discovers that she's being held hostage here. Holden promises to help her, but just then, Aiden appears with the water. The doc informs him that his wife has a blockage and needs to be taken to the hospital immediately. When Aiden refuses, Dr. Holden tries to knock him out by injecting him with a sedative. The two then engage in a scuffle, but the doctor is so old that he suddenly suffers a heart attack and dies. Damn, old people are useless. Seeing this, Liz is horrified, but Aiden drags the dead body outside and leaves it in the yard. He then returns inside with a vacuum, claiming he can remove the blockage himself. Liz refuses to let him do it, which leads to a struggle between them. During the fight, she uses her hands ties to choke him and knock him unconscious. She then quickly frees herself and ties him to the bed. Next, Liz leaves the house with a knife, and suddenly the two dogs arrive to attack her. However, she fights back and slashes one of the dogs to death. Seeing this, the other dog gets scared and doesn't dare come near her. Liz then gets into the tow truck and decides to leave this place for good. However, she crashes the vehicle in the garage, causing it to become stuck and preventing her from accelerating further. Seeing her miserable situation, Liz feels frustrated and breaks down in tears. In the morning, she goes to check on Aiden, who has woken up and is very angry. He asks her to free him, but she refuses and decides to give him a taste of his own medicine. Over the following days, she begins to take care of him and feed him. Liz finds some medicine in the cabinet, which seems very peculiar, but despite this, she begins giving him the medication in hopes that it will keep him under control. During this time, she also befriends the remaining dog, and they begin to bond by going for walks together. Liz gradually comes to enjoy her new life and realizes it's not so bad after all. One morning, when Aiden wakes up, he asks Liz where his wife Helen is. He wonders if he is in the hospital and whether she is his nurse. This confuses Liz, and she quickly realizes that Aiden must be suffering from a mental illness, and it's about goddamn time. She notices a sudden change in his behavior, and he's no longer the angry man he was before. It turns out the pills she has been giving him worked, and he's back to normal. Following this, Liz explains the entire situation to Aiden, and he apologizes if he has ever hurt her. He also opens up about his condition, revealing that he stopped taking his pills after his wife left. She then takes him to the bathroom and shaves his beard. After his shower, Liz looks at him with affection and states that he's younger than she thought. From this moment onwards, the two start getting along. Liz frees Aiden from the bed, but still ties his hands in case he goes insane again. When he inquires about his other dog, Liz explains that he himself killed it because he hated the smell of poop. In the following days, Liz and Aiden continue to grow closer, and she realizes that he isn't such a bad guy once he takes his pills. She develops feelings for him, and he begins to like her as well. One evening, she gives him Valium so he can sleep well and not wake up in the middle of the night. After Aiden falls asleep, Liz begins digging a grave outside to bury the doctor, whose body has been out in the open for several days. However, while doing so, a car suddenly pulls up in front of the house, and Liz hides herself. She then notices Helen getting out of the car and approaches to say hello. Helen is surprised to see such a strange woman in her house, but Liz introduces herself as Aiden's friend. After this, Helen enters the house, where she is shocked to see Aiden tied up. She becomes enraged and accuses Liz of holding her husband hostage, but Liz also retaliates by accusing her of leaving her sick husband behind. She then reveals how Aiden went insane and even killed the family doctor. She claims that Helen never cared about Aiden and only came back for the house. Hearing this, unenraged, Helen tries to call the cops, but Liz immediately knocks her out with a flashlight. She then buries the woman alive, alongside the doctor's body. After that, she closes the grave by placing the dead dog's body on top. The next morning, Liz greets Aiden, who mentions that he heard Helen in his sleep. However, she tells him that it's all in his head and gives him his pills. Moments later, Aiden sees his wife's car in the front and is shocked. He asks Liz about it, and she explains that the car's been there since she arrived here. She suggests that Aiden's mind had blocked out seeing it when he was skipping his pills. Hearing this, Aiden is still confused, but he chooses to believe her. Liz then suggests that they get rid of the car so he can completely let go of Helen. When he agrees, Liz finally removes the ties from his hands, claiming that he no longer requires them. In the afternoon, the two load the car into the tow truck and drive away from the house. After a while, they come to a stop at a police checkpoint. An officer asks them about Dr. Holden, who has been missing for some days. Aiden becomes confused and recalls seeing the doctor weeks ago, but Liz interrupts, explaining that Dr. Holden is their family doctor, but they haven't seen him in a while. When asked about her identity, she introduces herself as Aiden's wife, Helen. The next scene shows Aiden and Liz renovating the house to make it better. They seem very happy together and make love on the floor. The scene then cuts to a few weeks later when we see a pregnant Liz walking around the house. Soon after, two detectives show up and request to meet Aiden. Liz informs them that he's at work and asks what the matter is. They explain that they are investigating Helen's disappearance and ask if they can look around. Liz reluctantly agrees and the detectives start inspecting the house. In the yard, they find some freshly dug soil and start to dig. However, it turns out to be just a dog's paw, which brings relief to Liz. In the final scene, we see that some time has passed and Liz has given birth to a baby boy. She is taking photos of Aiden and the baby, and they all appear to be happy together. Aiden is surprised by the baby's red hair, since neither of them has it, but Liz explains that it must be a recessive gene. He naively believes her, unaware that the baby is actually fathered by Liz's former lover, Dan. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.